entering the take-up, placed together when the film is over. I'm your host, Joshua Ray, and I'm here with my co-hosts. First, I have the managing editor of TakeUp.com, Andrew Wyatt. Hey, Andrew.
Hello.
And then I've got author, critic, Catherine Coldiron. Hi, Catherine.
Hello, everyone. That was my sexy Kathleen Turner voice.
Definitely not deep enough. That is my pick for the contemporary costume series, Crimes of Passion from 1984. First, we've got a film now showing, and then we'll have one more thing. I think we've had, looking at like all of our picks, just a string of films about fucked up perverts, like
On brand, frankly.
I guess.
This is now the pervert podcast.
This is the pervert podcast. We have quite the double feature today. Now showing, we're going to cover Catherine Breillat's latest, Last Summer, which had me feeling all kinds of feelings. Andrew, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Loved it.
You loved it. All right.
Yeah.
I'll let you set it up then. I'm just now coming from it. I think you're more of a Breillat head than I am. You've done presentation on Fat Girl, right?
I was supposed to do a presentation on Fat Gale, but it had to be scuttled, unfortunately. I did all my prep, and then it came of nothing. Oh.
I was about to compare your knowledge of Breillat with my love and knowledge of Denis, even though I think we both kind of love both of them because they're often compared. They're contemporaries. They deal in the dregs. And yeah. Anyway, yeah, why don't you set this one up?
So this is Breillat's first film in 10 years since Abuse of Weakness. She sort of came out of retirement for this one to remake, I believe, a Danish film?
Yeah.
Danish or Dutch? So it is a remake or reinterpretation of a story. So it's a pretty straightforward film, actually, for a BA film. Like, it's Catherine Breillat came out of retirement, I guess, because she saw the weird proliferation of stepmom, stepson in mainstream porn and decided she needed to address this somehow. So she made her own stepmom, stepson film. And it's pretty fascinating. So this stars Léa Drucker as this 50-ish lawyer in France. She's married to a slightly older husband. They have two very young adopted daughters. She's a lawyer. She's a defender of like teenage sexual assault victims. So she's very sort of no nonsense. She has this very charmed life, lives in the Paris suburbs in this huge, beautiful house. Her husband has a 17-year-old son by a previous marriage who is sort of like a little bit of a delinquent. He has some problems at home, has some legal trouble, comes to live with them, and stepson.
He's a demon twink.
Yeah, he's a demon
he's
twink.
The definition of demon twink.
That long torso look he has. He's walking around the house all lanky,
walking around with his shirt off. Right.
Okay, you have my attention.
Okay. And
well, wait. Now, how old is he?
17.
Right.
You've lost my attention. She said regretfully.
Yeah, and it goes exactly where you think it would go, although not necessarily in sort of the traditional melodrama. Things blow up, like things do blow up, but not necessarily in the ways or in the directions that you think it's going to. Of course, it all ends in tears in its way. So this is, I don't know about Josh. Have you seen her film from 2002, I want to say, Brief Crossing, which is also about an older woman and a younger man?
No. She deals with young people's sexuality frequently.
Yeah, but this particular pairing of like older woman, younger man is something she's addressed before. In a great, actually, Brief Crossing is actually a great film, and not a lot of people have seen it. I highly recommend it. Probably my favorite film of hers after Fat Girl. But this one's a real return to form for me. I would actually liked Abuse of Weakness quite a bit, but this feels like Catherine's so back, but also not like necessarily being bogged down by a lot of the stuff that I think I liked. I haven't hated any of her films, but some of them are sort of like meh for me. I wasn't a big
They
fan of
tend to
her.
really deal in the darkness, at least aesthetically. I think of Catherine Breillat as like just like a dingy dirtiness, even though the films may not themselves be about that. And this one's interesting because it has a similar idea of these kind of, like, if you not literally white picket fences, but white picket fences and beige sofas, this idea of an idealized affluent family, and what's creeping underneath it are these currents of animal instinct. And so you would think of something like, I'm thinking of May December, and I think a lot of people have made that sort of comparison on a surface level, to whereas May December is sort of after the inciting incident of what happens here, and they are similar. May December is dealing with a lot of different ideas. This is dealing with the actual idea
focused
of the incident that happens, and the kind of exchanges of power that happen during, well, up to, during, and from the fallout of it. And you are watching this film, and it's very easy to play armchair psychologist. It's very easy to sit there and you're getting all these little drips of information about Leah Drucker's character's past, and the kind of the conversation she has with her husband after they, post coitus, but it resists all those easy ideas because it swerves whenever you think it's going to go in one direction, it'll go in a different direction. And it's also not the kind of like barn burning, like you're saying, kind of melodrama. It's a slow simmer, and there's no like huge incident in it. Unless, at least in the way that it's played out, because I don't want to underplay what happens in it. It's a rape in the center of it, right? But there's something really kind of open-ended about how you can interpret everything that happens that's really rich in this.
There's some narrative ellipses, which again reminds me, actually, there's something almost Denis-like about this film, in the sense that like there's a lot of narrative ellipses where they sort of skip forward without necessarily giving us all the context right away. It strikes me as a very focused film in a way that not a lot of Breillat films over the past 20 years have been. And I really love that about it. It's just, she whittles a lot of her more florid tendencies, I think, down to just this laser-like focus on this woman and her psychology. I'm trying to recall, I don't think we get any scenes without her in it. She's very much a POV character. And the film the film does lampshade its core thematic ideas. Like the characters that come out, she comes out and says, like, part of what's going on here is this idea of intrusive thoughts, and the idea that there is an appeal to, it's not just lust. It's not just about old versus young. It's really about the appeal of throwing a grenade at your own life on purpose. The temptation of standing there with a live grenade. Yeah, standing there
giving
with a live...
into your impulses. Yeah.
Standing on the urge to jump when standing on a cliff, even though you know the consequences, and being fully aware of the consequences and still feeling irresistibly drawn to do it anyway. And what is that about human nature that makes... And that's what I think is interesting about this film, is it really presents it without betraying any of the specifics. It's a very much a movie rooted in the specifics of class and gender and sexuality, but also it's more about the general idea of the urge to blow up, to destroy things, to self-annihilate, to blow up your own life for no particular reason, and why we humans get those intrusive thoughts. Why do those urges come to us? It's fascinating in that respect to me.
So I was going to ask whether this movie has a relationship to Suddenly Last Summer, but it sounds like not really.
I was thinking of Olivier Assayas's late August, early September, in more the way that the elliptical storytelling has you kind of filling in gaps. And so the actual on-screen title is Last Summer with an ellipses. I could see where you would pick that up in that, that is a, incestuous, like dishy melodrama, to where this is really kind of sunny, almost Tony in its way, if it weren't involving, the question at its core and the acts at its core. I think, I think the more I think about it, which, I just watched this thing. So it's unfair to me to have to give an opinion on this film almost immediately, but I think it'll stick around. It's going to be playing here at the Webster University Film Series on Friday, August 2nd. So, and it's going to be playing everywhere too. Catherine, I'm sure it's somewhere in LA. I would recommend checking it out. Maybe we'll have more to talk about with it.
The only Brayot film I've ever seen is Anatomy of Hell, and I hated it. I hated it so much that I'm never going to see another movie by this director. This, I was in my 20s, go figure. So I need to see it again and or see other Brayot films before okay, Josh, you're doing faces. What?
I don't know that you need, Andrew, do you need,
if you're going to pick three,
it's an advantage.
Make it Fat Girl, Abusive Weakness, her previous film, and I think Brief Crossing, because I think those give not necessarily the best cross-section of the types of films he made, but I think those would be maybe most interesting or provocative to you personally, and seeing how you process those would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I may feel differently even about Anatomy of Hell now, given how much I have warmed to extreme cinema over the years.
I will say that I watched, for my Fat Gal prep a couple of years ago, I watched Romance, which is a film I hadn't seen before, which is not good. Like, it's okay. It's not a bad movie, but it's like Nymphomaniac, but not good.
Oh.
Yeah. It's her Nymphomaniac, and it's not great.
You can't make Nymphomaniac and not have it be good.
All right. Well, from those crimes of passion to other crimes of passion, we're starting a new series. It's called Contemporary Costumes. Whole idea behind it is that we picked films that we are recommending that have great costume design, but the costume design is contemporaneous to the film's release. So,
which makes it challenging. I like that. I like that.
It challenging, but
I'm very impressed that you got that out in like a sentence, because when I was telling a friend about this series and they were like, oh, so, you could do like The Departed. And I was like, no, you could do Inception. No, like it has to be. Anyway.
Yeah. So it was a little bit of a challenge, but hey, just look at the movies that you love and then maybe you'll find one. But yeah, this is Ken Russell's 1984 film, Crimes of Passion.
Oh, what's this, your mailbag? Let's see what's in it.
No!
What is this, top secret?
No.
Come on, let Mama have a little peek. What have you got here, the Holy Grail? Come on. Oh, my God. Oh, excuse me. Oh, God.
Need I remind you, Jezebel, that curiosity killed the cat?
Not until it got out of the bag.
These are the devil's playthings, and those who touch them will burn.
Well, put another log on the fire, Reverend. Let's see a sample.
It's a disgusting array.
Disgusting's my middle name, honey.
So Last Summer is a tame film compared to Crimes of Passion. I mean, I wouldn't send many people. Only the special of you would I send to see Crimes of Passion, even though I think it is a genuinely great film. And I think there's a lot to adore in it. There's a lot about it that is fun. There's a lot about it that there are a lot of ideas too. One reason I picked it, I originally had a different pick that I'm not going to mention. That's one of my favorite films that probably would have been, God, I'm just a sicko pervert. It was a Russ Meyer movie. So go down that track. So I picked this one because Alamo's doing that like retro series where they're showing a year in films over 2 months and blah, 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 blah. So they actually show Crimes of Passion, which
that's amazing.
I'd seen it before and really liked it, but watching it at home and watching it on the big screen with an audience is very different. And the film got a lot smarter to me this second time. Had you guys seen it before? I think you said no.
No.
Are you mad at me?
No.
Not a bit.
You're not mad at me?
No. So I really love Ken Russell. And the more films of his I see, the more I love him. I know. And like he's one of those filmmakers where if you say you love him, people will be like, what's the matter with you? But what I love about him is how maverick he is, and how this is my theory. It's somewhat untested, but my theory of Ken Russell is that he's doing the same thing as William Shatner, where the art that they're practicing is not actually recognizable as the art as it's commonly known, but they're doing something that's so distinctive that you can't take your eyes off them. So, like, is William Shatner an actor in the traditional Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro sense of the word? I'm going to say no. But what he's doing is something with a capital S.
I think the better comp would be Nicolas Cage.
Well, my theory of Nicolas Cage is different, but like that's what I think about Ken Russell, is that what he's doing as a director is not exactly recognizable in the sense of Scorsese or Fellini, but it is something.
He's doing something.
It is gloriously so something.
Yes. Yeah.
But Ken Russell, he's a British director, right? And starts as like kind of journeyman. He makes a sequel to Ipcress File. He's doing things like that. And he really comes into his own when he adapts D.H. Lawrence's Women in Love. And that becomes a sensation on its kind of minor scale. And then he's making films during the 70s, like The Devils, which becomes a huge controversial film, and I think is a masterpiece. And and then adapts The Who's Tommy for film. And he is a director who the camera knows no bounds. And he's a stylish filmmaker, but he has consistent concerns in sexuality, in the kind of limits of cultural sexuality, and, well, music. All of his music movies, like Mahler, and what's the other one I'm not thinking of?
Listomania.
Yeah, so he's got, and he made the segment in Aria too. So he's got
directed opera for a while too.
So this makes
really
sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, right there, Catherine. That's it. Like, because this is an operatic, dingy, dirty, in the streets, disgusting film. I'll do my best to set it up. It's not a film that's heavy on plot at all. It is a film that is full of incident. However, we've got main dude who's just, this is going to be controversial. I like this guy and I like this performance. I think he is weird enough where you see these impulses, like they make sense, but also was probably kind of constrained by his environment considerably. So he just has these flashes of being a total weirdo, and he has played
John Laughlin. Yeah.
Say it again.
John Laughlin.
He's played by John Laughlin. Laughlin. And he's a really handsome guy.
Yeah.
I mean, in a kind of 80s meathead way. Like,
He's not wrong about the quarterback bod.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. But he does have gray teeth. I was staring at them. He does have gray teeth. But anyway, he's married to Annie Potts. I will say one of the things I don't like about this film is, how are you going to cast that with Annie Potts? Like, please, can you give me someone a little bit more downtrodden and without energy? Because, I mean, Annie Potts can do it, but why are you wasting her time like that?
Yeah.
They have a sort of, not a loveless marriage, but a passionless marriage. And he runs an kind of a electronics fixing business, and it's his, passion. She let him pursue it, and they have a bunch of hangups about that. I really don't remember the plot, how this thing comes out. But meanwhile, you've got Kathleen Turner, who is a fashion designer who is moonlighting for no real good reason other than she can and she wants to, as a sex worker, prostitute in the seediest of downtown hotels. I don't know that it says, I mean, it's very clearly made in LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't, there's nothing
right?
identifiable about it being LA.
I mean, I'm not sure 100% if it's intended to be set in LA. I mean, if I were going to stretch, I would say anyone who sees it who lives here is like, yeah, that's LA.
Yeah,
and they live in the Inland Empire, and she, but I don't know if it's set in LA so much as it is set in the imaginary LA of our imaginations, let's say.
yes, that
A
puts it
British
perfectly
person's
because
imagination of LA in
Which is
1984.
not that different from the real thing.
which is an interesting parallel to another film that I love called Eyes Wide Shut.
Or Midnight Cowboy for that
Yeah, that's
matter.
perfect.
Also made by a Brit.
And you know what it doesn't resemble? Maxine. I was thinking about Maxine during this movie because I was like, this movie is filthy, and it is all of the filthiness that Maxine did not have the guts to go for, and or couldn't find shooting locations dirty and nasty enough in the year of our Lord 2024. Like, this movie is disgusting. Like, I felt like I was going to get STDs just from watching that hotel room.
What
Oh,
is the
for
LA?
sure.
What is the LA 80s comp to the the New York shitty canon is like New York in the 70s.
Mhm.
We need like the comp
the
for
80s,
LA. LA in
right?
the 80s is like
Yeah.
just as disgusting, but in its own unique LA way.
Well, and that's the thing about Los Angeles is that it's divided into so many different regions that there is still parts of town that are like this. And then because I'm thinking about how a lot of 80s LA is kind of LA law themed, where it's smooth shiny cars and cocaine and big suits, but like the disgustingness of Hollywood Boulevard is ever present. It's always there.
But this character lives in the LA law, but plays in the, I don't know, what's the opposite of that? The
Like Hollywood Boulevard.
So the Hollywood Boulevard of it all, because she's in these seedy motels that are like, if you were teaching kids about neo-noir, you would take stills from this and show them, like, pump as much neon. Ken Russell is the father of bisexual lighting, I guess. I mean, actually, the lighting is like straight out of Suspiria. So that's sort of the dreamy quality, well, I should say nightmarish quality that these scenes are given compared to the bright, white, cloudless light of the daytime scenes and of the more, suburb scenes. But Kathleen Turner, there's a third part to the triangle that is
Anthony Perkins.
very important. That is played by Anthony Perkins, who is a priest, ? Who is living a cycle of horny post-coital guilt like every 2 minutes, and has a dildo that is made of knives or something. A sharp dildo.
I'm for
vibrator.
Right? Like I'm for that weapon in terms of its sheer like gaudy awfulness, but it's not sharp. Like, I don't know how.
No, here's the thing. It doesn't look sharp, but then at the end when he's cutting her loose, I'm like, how?
No, it's not sharp enough for that. Like, it doesn't look bad.
I think it's supposed to be like a buck knife, like a short, squat, thick, but with that single edged blade. But I think one edge has this. I don't know. I'm as baffled by that prop as you guys, but I think one edge is supposed to be sharp.
No, I mean, I got the concept of it, but when, spoiler everybody, when at the end she stabs him with it, or who stabs him with it, I'm like, you must have had a ton of force to be able to, penetrate a human body with that thing.
He just kind of falls on him, like.
There's some words, please.
That's right. Words. It is the generic husband figure who stabs him. I forgot, but yeah.
No. We have to wait.
We're going right to the end. Are we going right to
the end? Reconfigures another film that we all love in a very interesting way. So, but the film chronicles is sort of, I'll say it, the perversion of the various ways that these really 4 characters connect, and with her clients that she brings in, Kathleen Turner's clients that she brings in, and her trying to live on the line of very similarly to what we were talking about last summer, of this drive of like impulsivity, but also keeping her private life private and compartmentalizing these two different ideas. And of course, that's not going to work. And it's this like, revenge of the repressed in a different way here, where it plays out that there's so much violence tied in with the sexuality because of that repression in it. And there's just a lot of ideas too, and I'm fumbling at different ideas because there's too many of them.
That's why I can't remember who stabbed who at the end, because I don't care about the plot of this movie. I just want to like inject it into my eyeballs. Like it's such a visual, visceral experience that what happens in it is beside the point.
But it's time and time again that Russell sets up these, and his screenwriters set up these scenarios where he's allowing people and these characters with their just like incredibly poetic beat poetry, verbose dialogue. There are speeches that Anthony Perkins gives in this film that I can't believe drag queens aren't out there lip syncing.
I like what you said about this movie being weirdly smart. Like you maybe need a second to appreciate how smart it is. Like to me, the dialogue is so ludicrous, but at the same time so tightly and smartly written. Like the whole thing is like innuendo. Like every line of this movie, particularly when Kathleen Turner's on screen, is an innuendo. But like the metaphors keep mixing and shifting like every other line. It's deranged and in like the best, smartest kind of way. It's like it's the most juvenile humor you can imagine, but it keeps changing directions so fast, and the power dynamics of like the one-on-one, dyad characters involved in any given scene keep shifting so fast. Along with that innuendo, it's just fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I love about Russell is how difficult it is to plot his audience on like a graph. Like I think he makes really outlandish, noisy movies for smart people, if that makes any sense. Like I was looking up he made one of his recent projects was a short film called A Kitten for Hitler. And it is intended to be, he made it on a bet, and it's intended to be a heartwarming story about a Jewish boy who tries to give Hitler a kitten to melt his heart. And bad things proceed. I'm not going to say it on the air, but like as I was reading it, I was like, this is so fucked up and so funny. And because I am not a person who reacts strongly to kind of the basic ideas of this, and I'm more interested in the upper layers of the satire and I'm more like, this is outrageous, but also it's fucking funny. And I feel like that's what The Devils operates on too. It's like you can get outraged at it, or you can actually think about it. And the thinking about it is what makes it good. But at the same time, it's pleasing the lizard part of your brain that wants shiny colors and sex. And like, this is why I love him more and more as the years go by.
That it becomes a kind of directorial thesis statement too. It's like, here's the kind of pleasure that you're getting from my images, my turned up, neon horny images, but at the same time I'm indicting you for the way that you behave within your own society and the way that you respond to these very images. He will, as if to put a point on it, he will do a quick cut to some classic art. I think there's like in there. There's like several times it's kind of tied into what's happening on screen, sometimes not. And he will just do quick cut and cut away, a very Godardian thing to do.
Yeah.
As if to make this idea about high and low art, and then kind of mixing in your response to it, and the kind of pleasure that this low art film, and people think of it as pure entertainment, what its messages can convey and the way it can convey messages. In this movie, there's like message on message on message on message, And I still find it really thrilling to pick through all the layers of it, even when I think maybe sometimes it's confused or obvious. And its obviousness, I feel like, is a kind of a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, like the sort of juvenile Playboy's Unabashed Dictionary innuendo in this movie continued to make me laugh, even as I was like, that this is so stupid and juvenile. And in someone else's hands, I would not trust. Like I wouldn't trust that he was laughing at the joke for the same reason that I am, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I just, what a delight this movie was.
It's kind of hard to, I've started to want to go through some of the specifics of it. And like you said, it is hard to, because it is so assaultive, like orally and visually and thematically. I mean, maybe towards the, in the middle of it, when we're dealing with marriage story, you're kind of, your interest might wax and wane a little bit. There's a scene that goes on really long in the kitchen between Annie Potts and John Laughlin. But it again, it's all these different configurations of these people and their sexuality, the way they mix or don't mix. And I don't know, altogether it kind of makes this grand statement of at least what Ken Russell believes as a sex in American culture.
There's also all these different configurations of cinema. That's what interested me. Like you brought up, I think, I'm not sure if you meant the scene in the bedroom that goes on forever and ever, where they're in the bed together and he's trying to talk to Annie Potts about their marriage, their sexless marriage. And meanwhile, there's a filter over the lighting that's just like, it's supposed to be, I think, a lacy curtain in the breeze. So there's like these constantly shifting shadows over them, even while they're having this conversation that's sort of vaguely mundane about their marriage. And I was really rooting for him, which is not my usual posture when a man and a woman are talking about a sexually repressed relationship. And man, it just goes on forever, but it feels very much like an over serious TV movie melodrama in that moment. And then you have this insane sequence of Kathleen Turner anally raping a police officer with his own baton, which is in the same movie. And like, those are two completely
at
different
his behest, we should
modes.
say. At his
yeah,
behest.
well,
yes, yes.
I don't know. I'm not sure he was so happy, but yeah, he was. It seemed like she might have snuck it in there, is what I'm saying. And it's just like those are two completely different modes, and he's equally adept at them, I think. But why do you put them in the same movie? What
they're still about the same
that?
thing, though. They're still about,
well, that's true,
the kind of core of human sexuality. And
I think the scenes from a marriage sequences actually do work for me. I can't quite explain why, but I find them compelling even when they do go on. It's sort of banal compared to everything that's going on outside of that suburban house. But I do find them compelling, and I think and Catherine, you alluded to that, like you do actually feel some sympathy for our protagonist. And like I think one of the successes of it is that, yeah, it's banal, the conversations that they're having and the situation that they're finding in themselves in, but it is a rare sort of scenes from a marriage sequences where I feel sort of sympathy for both sides, and I can kind of see why one person is exhausted or not, or does or doesn't want to talk about this, or why one person is insisting on talking about it, and those kinds of things. Like that isn't usually compelling to me, but I found them almost like the counterpoint to all the wackiness going on around them makes them compelling in a way. But there is something going on here with respect to America, the idiosyncrasies of American culture and its attitudes towards sex in particular. And I feel like Russell is doing something about how this sort of suburban middle-class marriage milieu is maybe not the best milieu for working out this incredibly like conflicted Puritanism versus libertine impulse that America has, and particularly like in this exact moment in time in the 80s when we got this like retrenchment of conservatism happening at the same time that America is sort of recovering from its 60s, the 60s and 70s. And there's something about the suburban milieu and how like ludicrously ill-suited dinner and the kids and work and things like that are for working out that paradox. that paradox almost has to be worked out in a sleazy, flea-ridden
Well, see,
joint down the street.
I couldn't agree more with what you just said, like beautifully, brilliantly said. But I feel like the movie is not saying that what Kathleen Turner is doing as China Blue is the answer either.
No. She does have that weird line that, like, in parlance of 2024, made me sit up a little bit, where she said that LA Flea Bottom Hotel is a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
It's where I can work out my shit. I'm like, okay, I understand, but is it?
Is it though? Like, she continues to be working it out. I'm not sure if she's moving forward in any of this.
I mean, talking about the Annie Potts character, someone who seems and says she voices that she's disinterested in having sex with her husband, having sex at all. But when you come to the end of it, it seems as if maybe she does have that impulse. And all of the kind of contradictory things that people are saying versus what they're doing, and the different role playing that they're doing throughout the film too.
So much role play.
So
much role
play. Like, not even as, in the sexual, in a sex act, right? There's so much of that, but it's people behaving differently in order for a mode survival or fitting in, whatever it may be.
From the very first scene, right, that our protagonist is in this, again, Russell sort of announcing his weird stylistic technique right off the bat. There's this like single support group but it's shot in such a bizarre way where it looks like some of the characters are behind him and not in a typical like 12 steps.
They have to be, right?
Well, maybe that's just the style. But
no, I think there were two groups. That was how I interpreted it, which is a completely different thing than what happens in the end when he's in the support group. Like it's the same type of scene, but it's shot in very different ways. And the other people in the room are arranged in different ways. Yeah, the first one I interpreted as he's sitting on this side of one group, and then there's another group behind him that's sitting in a circle.
But it's deliberately like stylistically weird, like the way it's shot. But to get back to my point, Bobby enters that scene with like this image of like a very well-rounded, well-balanced marriage where everybody's happy, and he crumbles in like 2 minutes. Like the facade, he's playing a role. Oh, I'm just here to support my friend, and then like it takes no time whatsoever for a few jabs from the other people of that group, particularly the women, jabbing at him to him just like completely implode. So yeah, like from the very first scene, we have characters who are presenting one face to the world and then assuming another face.
And to that, let's talk a little bit about the costumes now, because it's so important how that silky suit of armor that Kathleen Turner wears when she comes to the seedy side of town to become China Blue. I don't think I said that she calls herself China Blue. It's really good.
It's also not just the dress too, it's the wig. It's that platinum blonde, bangy wig.
The wig with those blunt bangs, and it is the worst wig. That is so important.
So I had this thought as I was watching. I don't know a lot about wigs and wig craft, but I was wondering if it was originally a wig that had hair of all the same length, and someone literally just like took a pair of kitchen scissors and blunted the bangs because they're so poorly cut, and like it works so well.
Yeah, it gives Halloween costume vibes in a good way.
Sorry, I'm just on IMDb and I found some kind of, I can't see the language, I don't recognize the language, but this is the most fucking demented DVD cover. So please save it, please. Okay, I have to show you guys. I guess the film goes by China Blue Elsewhere, which is also a pretty good title.
I think that actually, when I watched it, I thought that should have been the title.
Please look at this fucking DVD cover.
Yes, boss.
Whoa.
It's just Kathleen Turner in complete ecstasy. It's that shot where she's dressed as the queen, what do you call it?
The beauty pageant queen.
Yeah, the beauty queen. And she's got a sash on that says Liberty, and she's getting head from one of her clients. or he's just
while in a
talking into her
gynecological
vagina or something.
while in a gynecological exam chair, and Anthony Perkins has been unconvincingly photoshopped into the window.
Yeah. This is unhinged. Oh, it's Swedish. But it does showcase that
I'm
almost
just
a
gazing at it. It's so it's so incredible. Okay, sorry.
Somebody online said that, I don't remember with Letterboxd or Instagram or whatever, but I saw somebody said this is the prequel to Serial Mom and the sequel to Psycho at the same time.
Yeah,
That's
I agree with
so
both of
true.
those.
There's something very John Waters about that DVD cover, I think. Late
And
John
about
Waters.
that scene, I mean, yeah, there was. I did think about John Waters and especially about Serial Mom during this, but Waters, I don't know. Waters is up to something slightly different, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the contrast between her daytime looks, which are like menswear, very Diane Keaton, Annie Hall menswear, and her natural hair that she does this like what crimping of one style. No, she crimps like the entire thing by rolling it,
Mhm.
right?
It's
And then
it's a perm. I'm sorry. I know that because
yeah, it does look like a perm, but it's not.
I had a real
quite as
bad version
curly.
of that in middle school, and
Oh,
I know it's a perm,
who
but
remember the perm
it's
age? Yeah.
gorgeous though. I actually love her natural hair in this movie, and I want to doubly emphasize the menswear thing. She is in a tie in every scene where she is not China blue, like a
And
tie.
They're oversized men's suits, but the way that they're styled, they look fantastic too.
Yeah, it doesn't. She doesn't look like, it doesn't look zoot suity, even though that they are oversized with the big shoulders and everything. Like, it somehow works for her, and maybe it's because she's in the fashion industry. Like, there's something a little bit slightly edgy about how she dresses, even for the sort of bland corporate environment that she's working in her day job. And maybe it's because she's a designer.
Well, it kind of gets into the gender stuff too, and that she's trying to play as powerful man in the office environment, and there's some stuff in there about this kind of corporate political environment that she's in and the disadvantage that she has there versus where she gets to break out.
But to be fair, it's not just in the office, it's also like in her non prostitution personal life. Like, she makes a point, it's like, I don't have boyfriends.
Yeah.
I don't cook. Like, there's a lot of aspects of her personal life until she steps out the door in the blue dress, changes into the blue dress, that feel like not necessarily male coded, but just anti-traditionalist coded.
Well, and there's a lot of things that's interesting about this character. And one of them is that the subtext that I read into it for her characterization is that she has failed at a bunch of things that are traditionally female roles, like cooking and finding a husband and so forth. And so in order to get in touch with any kind of femininity, she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go and have sex. And that's going to remind me that I'm female. But in her regular life, she's just going to lean into the masculine stuff. And I don't relate to that at all. I don't know how that can crazy. Can't imagine having that.
Interestingly, though, not going out and being sort of wild single lady going to bars and picking up guys, specifically turning it into a transactional, like, she still is pursuing sex, she's still doing it on her own terms, but she's turning it into this transactional, fantastical aspect. I don't know.
But it's also abusive. And I don't think that Russell completely shies away from that, especially in the sort of faux rape scene, which isn't pleasant at first. And I was thinking, oh, Abel Ferrara, where are you? And then it turns out to be not that at all. It's a deliberate transaction, but she's debasing herself, and that feels purposeful.
So the blue dress and the way that it allows her to do that, it's kind of like her superhero costume.
100%.
And how she can go into these environments and become whoever her clients want her to be. And she's still wearing it whenever she first gets with Bobby too. And they have the sex in this is not sexy, except the sex with Bobby, I think it kind of worked. Maybe it's because I just like Bobby. I just like him. I don't know why.
Well, Russell gives us when they have like their all-nighter, right? Russell gives us this like softcore porn montage of them in every possible sexual position, right? Like
Whatever.
through the gauzy curtains with the silhouette. And all my brain can think
so
of is Rocky
good.
Horror Picture Show for some reason.
Me too. But I also thought of Suspiria, where they've got Helena Marcos behind the curtains.
That's not very sexy.
When the larvae when the grubs start
Helena
falling
Marcos,
on them.
I was reminded of the scene in Risky Business when Rebecca De Mornay first shows up at Tom Cruise's house, and like she's in this gauzy stuff, and he comes and like takes her clothes off, and they start to bone, and there's this like guitar line that's like, and it's just it's very cheesy. And the sort of music choice and the going all out for it that was represented in the shadow play felt cheesy, but that too feels true to the sexual experience. Like, you know, I can't tell you the damage that the Top Gun sex scene did to my development as a sexual person, because I was like, oh, sex is going to be pretty and nice and totally dry and and have pretty music over it. And of course, that's not true at all. So,
I mean,
like,
at least Blue Velvet you weren't watching Blue Velvet when you were like 14.
that's true.
Could have been worse.
Could have been worse. I just
could have been worse.
like the human, the sense that this is sort of a cheesy, overdone experience that nevertheless leaves both of them a little changed is pretty great.
Yeah, it's carrying those contradictions of the Puritanism and the actual feeling of it, the romance of it, and how we've kind of adopted those images, just like what you're talking about with Top Gun and with, I am not talking about me with Blue Velvet at all. But the way you start to incorporate those images into the narratives of your life too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reflected in the character work too, because it's really fascinating to me that Joanna, like, he comes to her apartment. Big no-no, right? Like, if you're a sex worker, the John showing up at your house, big no-no. But she still says, you have my number if you need me for anything. And she's not just talking about sex work there. There's something genuine about the way that she says that to them. And she didn't have to do that. So something about their encounter has shifted something for her too.
The Preacher by Anthony Perkins, played by Anthony Perkins, who's gonna kill her. He wants to kill her as some sort of like sacrifice. Like, give me the religious rundown of what he's doing. He feels bad because he horny, so he used Bible to murder. Dildo knife. I do love these scenes of him in the peep show room. I don't know what they're called, folks.
I wanted
but he's
such
watching
a better look at that room. There was so much shit in that room that I wanted
the
to see.
detail, just the like substances running down walls and the floor, but where he's, I guess he is literally murdering them, but what we see is him stabbing blow-up dolls. So it's like his sort of objectification of the women, and then we're brought into the reality of it because we see the woman on the floor, and it's just this kind of absurd moment where it can kind of take you out of the film, but the fantasy of it makes so much sense with this character because of his whatever he's up to, whatever kind of pathological ideas you can create about this man. But what I really want to get to is the ending from Psycho, when Anthony Perkins, instead of taking on his mother's clothes, takes on the clothes of the prostitute with whom he's obsessed. And I don't know, there's something there that I have not connected yet, but I love the layers of culture that are just packed into that moment. It could get past you very easily because the film is so involving. And in this moment, you're actually really scared for China Blue or whatever her real name is. Joanna. Sorry. Last name Crane. Not unlike Marion Crane. Just saying. But it's almost as if Russell sort of wants to take the piss out of Hitchcock in saying like, I didn't know this grand Guignol world that or idea that you created of this like sexually repressed son has like split cinema into half, has changed the waves of gender and cinema in one way, and I see it as this sort of inversion of that in a really interesting way of like taking it back or taking it back into a different direction.
Love that. I love that.
Well, it's hard not to think about it. Like, why did he do it? And it's not never going to recall Psycho. It's literally the moment where he's like the male wooden hero grabs the killer from behind and struggles to take the knife. It's exactly that. And then the way the wig falls off, he's doing the ending of Psycho.
No,
Why
I'm not
is he
denying
doing
that.
it?
I'm not denying that. I just like I couldn't interpret why he was doing the end of Psycho, and I think you nailed it.
I mean, I think it works independent of its metatextual aspects too. I think like there's something very seductive. Like we said earlier, this is not an overly plot-driven film. And once China and the preacher meet, we have this sense of matter and antimatter, right? These two are going. One of these is going to have to destroy the other for the story to resolve itself. There's something about that, but they don't end up. It's not a pursuit. Like you don't end up with this like tense film where he's hunting her and he can't quite get to her. Like he's in her orbit pretty much the entire movie, and she's sort of alternating between being scared and not scared. Like she doesn't know whether to take his raving seriously, and he's sort of hovering there. And the fact that it has to be resolved through a literal costume reversal and role reversal in order for one to annihilate the other, there's something even apart from which I think you're absolutely right, Josh. It's like the meta aspects with Psycho are fascinating, but like even within the logic of the film, there's something compelling about that as being a satisfying resolution to this story.
Well, and a thing that I want to bring up is whether Perkins' character is actually a priest or not, or whether he is dressing up as a priest in the same way that whether she's a prostitute or not, she's dressing up as a prostitute. And I mean, his priest costume is sort of interesting because he's like his shirt is not white. It's disgusting.
So sweaty.
And so I'm not clear if he is like a street preacher or he is a former preacher who's fallen on hard times or
and
what.
He has these ratty sneakers on too. It's actually like a kind of a cool look if it weren't so dirty.
And so I feel like for them to switch identities is a matter of each of them dressing up as the other's disguise. And not just that they're exchanging roles, but that they're exchanging like false role. What I'm trying to say is more complicated than what I'm ended up saying.
I know, because then you start thinking that through to the next step too. It's what do you gain from that? What are they actually doing whenever they do that? I mean, other than it being a really great plot and thematic device, even outside of it, just the kind of cinematographical idea of it, and then the metatextual idea of it, it's so rich that I'm not smart enough. Sorry, go ahead.
The other thing I want to say is I read that the original script of this movie was about a psychiatrist in China Blue. And you can see that the skeleton of that in the scenes between Perkins and Turner in the hotel room, where, it's rapid fire.
It's almost like they're working out something together.
And that it feels like a one act play of these two characters who have these lines memorized so hard that they're just firing back and forth at each other. And as I was watching, I was like, okay, so this is the sort of bones of the psychiatrist thing. And I think it was Perkins's idea to turn it into a priest. And that's cool. It makes it so much richer.
Yeah, it gets more philosophical than psychological. I mean,
I think the
there's-
religion is really essential to the
Mhm.
the Americanness of this, like the guilt, the religiously motivated guilt. And I don't think it's incidental that Perkins, we don't know what Perkins' history is. We don't know if he's ever really a preacher, but that's part of America, right? Like that any rando could call himself that on a street corner could call himself a preacher. The idea of ordainment being like essential to the identity of man of God. But I also think there's something really seductive about how Perkins plays the role, that he's so all over the place. And I mean that in a good way. Like,
Yes.
he's not doing the BTK serial killer thing where like he has this perfect Christian life and then there's the moments where the dam bursts and he lets it out and then he feels guilt and shame when he goes back to his normal life. He is veering from line to line between like purity and hedonism so fast, and in such like this sweaty mania to how quickly he's modulating between shame, lust, shame, lust, shame, lust in any given scene. It's a fascinating performance and a fascinating like conception of a sort of priest sex maniac archetype character. It's not something I've ever seen before. It's amazing.
No, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that makes you angry. There's so many things that make you angry about Perkins being born the year that he was born, because this is the kind of fearlessness that I think he could have leaned into if he wasn't born kind of at the tail of classical Hollywood. Like, I think that he is this fearless of an actor. And hooking up with Ken Russell is great because he can do this outlandish swinging back and forth, and it can work in a movie that's hysterical.
It's funny.
It's
a
so
funny
hysterical.
movie. So much happens, and yet it's still such a funny movie.
Sure. No, I mean
funny.
hysterical in both ways. That it is very funny, but it's also in the sense that Verhoeven makes hysterical
Oh,
movies.
yeah.
Like the emotional tenor of it is just so high. It's like frenzied.
I mean, that's what I'm saying when I say that, like, it feels like these two were doomed to come into collision, because they're both, she's figured out a way to like maybe contain it better through this dual identity thing, where she uses the street walking as a way to release something that she hasn't quite worked out in her own pathology. But he's completely like off the chain when the movie starts. Like, his mode doesn't really change the whole movie. If anything, like coming into her orbit just intensifies how hysterical he already is.
Well, and I want to say, earlier I said something about his hidey hole. I meant like the room that's to the side of her, I guess, hotel room in residence, where
is he
all of her
renting
shit
a
is.
room there? I don't ever
Like,
really understand.
Well, that's like a
It's-
utility closet.
But
I was
it's-
talking about the
I know what
actual
you're-
showroom,
Yeah, you were talking about
because the
the peep show
hidey
room.
hole, the hole, the little closet that he's in is also fucking fascinating. Sorry,
That's
go
the
ahead.
one that I want to see. Like, I don't want to see anything in the peep show room. No. I want to see like all of the weird crap that he's got in his little like peep room where he looks in on her. And like I said,
to the production designer who had to put all that shit on
I
that
know
wall.
there's so much crap in that
Oh,
room.
that
It's like
was
a Gilliam
fun. I'm
frame,
sure that was
and you never
fun.
get to see any of it. There's
was
one other
bananas.
costume note I want to make, which is
Yes.
Annie Potts. And my memory of it is that she is mostly wearing kind of FLDS dresses,
What does that mean?
like the fundamentalist long-sleeved, long skirt
yes,
dresses.
yes.
And then at the end, when she has changed her mind, and it's just so, this is like a typical thing that men do, which is like when they figure out that their meal ticket is going away, they're like, no, baby, come on back. And so it feels like she is realizing that she's giving up her marriage, and she's like, no, let's have sex. I'll enjoy it this time. But she's wearing a shirt with a dress with spaghetti straps instead. And my memory of it again is that she was wearing always sort of high collared sundresses. And then in this last one, she's like wearing a summer dress. And I remember that era of fashion as her stuff being not too out of the ordinary, but the modesty of it is a good contrast to China Blue, and it's feminine as a contrast to Joanna. And the football jersey is a crucial piece of costume design, because she gives him as a Christmas present this football jersey from high school. And I loved his disappointment when he opened it. Like, his face just fell. And I thought that the implication was that she wants to go backward and he wants to go forward. And it's usually men who want to relive the glory days when they were the high school quarterback. But for her, she wants to go back to a time in their relationship when it was more innocent and, there wasn't all this sort of adult stuff, responsibility and whatnot. And for him, he wants to like go on into adulthood. And I just, oh man, I loved it so much.
His reaction,
yeah,
his reaction to that jersey is such a great character note because it shows how much he's changed. He's like, oh, yeah.
And yet, this is the same guy who plays a penis with basketballs tied to his ankles. Like,
right?
It's just, yeah.
He doesn't have to go back. He's stuck right there. Yeah. All right. That's Crimes of Passion. It's first in our contemporary costumes. Hell yeah, I won. I'm glad they didn't hate
you
it.
Won movies.
They don't hate me now. Great. All right. Well, I would definitely recommend. It's currently on the Criterion Channel. There are quite a few Ken Russell films up there, but I think it's also playing as a part of their neo-noir series. So a few opportunities to see it. You can also rent it. There's a great Arrow DVD. You can import that Swedish Blu-ray if you have to for some reason. Look at what we were talking about. I'll include it in the show notes, and then you'll hate me forever.
I'm gonna frame that, put it on my wall.
Well, I was honestly expecting like some kind of weird Ghanan movie poster business, and it was so much more than that.
Her eyes. I'm looking at it again.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got one more thing. It's her eyes. Stop looking at it. What is she doing with her hand? Oh, you have to ask that, Joshua? All right, every episode we round out with one more thing. That's something we've been enjoying, consuming, alphabetizing, whatever it might be. Catherine, how about you go first?
Okay. I have been working my way through Les Vampires or Les Vampires or The Vampires or however you want to say it by Louis Feuillade. No idea. It's a French. Okay. It's a French serial from 1915 to 1916. 7 hours of miniseries, I'm going to say, to translate it into today's parlance. And I have found that silent film is a great antidote to looking at my phone too much, because if I look at my phone while I'm watching a silent film, I'm gonna miss something.
You're
like
done.
I have to.
You're out.
Yeah, I have to concentrate. And like there are silent films that move slowly, but nevertheless, like you still have to pay attention. And I think all of us could stand to look at our phones a little less, so me included. So I'm going to recommend seeing that. It is a serial in 10 parts. The 10 parts vary greatly in length. And despite the name, it is not about supernatural vampires. It's about a gang of criminals in Paris. And there's a lot that I love about watching silent film from the earliest of early. The sort of environmental details and the costumes and all kinds of things. But this one is interesting because it's an extremely old-fashioned detective story, if that makes sense. There's a lot of disguises and like breaking into places and robberies, and there's a surprising body count. Like a lot of people die. And so even though it is old, I don't believe that it is old-fashioned. However, it's unique, and it took me a minute to get into it. I've had this DVD for decades and I haven't watched it successfully, but this time I'm getting through it and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's available on streaming in various places, so I would check it out. The Vampires, Les Vampires, whatever. You can find me on Twitter at Fairy Frigida, on Letterboxd at Fairy Frigida, or at kcoldiron.com.
Very cool. I did a presentation on Irma Vep, Olivier Assayas's Irma Vep. That's the thing that got me into Hong Kong cinema. That film is very good for rabbit holes. That's why I saw Les Vampires, and
I'm actually saving that for after.
Like, yes. And then you go to the miniseries, and we have a lot to talk about. There's just a lot of holes, man. A lot of jumping through holes. I'm Joshua Ray. I'm at Crispy Retinas everywhere. I'm currently in the midst of reading Carrie Corrigan's book, a biography of Elaine May. It's called Miss May Does Not Exist. which, as it turns out, is from their self-written biographies on one of the sleeves of their LPs. Nichols and May, Mike Nichols wrote this very elaborate thing, and then under Elaine May it says Miss Nichols or Miss May does not exist. Is the funniest fucking joke I've ever heard, and I ruined it. But the book is great because it chronicles not only Nichols and May and their rise to this great comedy team that ushers in like a new modernity into popular comedy, but also Elaine May, her personal life and her professional life, and how those two really mixed and mingled and became, one of the great filmographies, the great directorial oeuvres that we have that is 4 or 5 films long. So films like A New Leaf, Heartbreak Kid. Well, yeah, I can just name all of them. Mikey and Nikki, Ishtar, and this 5th one that's not good. Into the Spirit. I've seen
Ishtar
it.
sucks too.
I don't think Ishtar sucks.
I know a lot of people are reclaiming it, but I think it's awful.
What is Into the Spirit? Into the Spirit?
You know them so well, you couldn't name less.
Well, she didn't actually direct this one, and this one you can't find. I illegally downloaded it. And the 5th one, which I'll figure out later, but it's a really great book, and she used a lot of different literary devices in order to tell the stories, and a lot of drama that's really juicy and good about making films. So it's a good read. It's called Miss May Does Not Exist by Carrie Corrigan.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things, but I like hearing your specific recommendation.
Can I have one more thing?
Is it piggybacking on my one more thing?
A little bit.
Then it's just more of my one more thing. So yes,
like a little
it's
bit
allowed.
I was going to recommend that everyone out there listening go on YouTube and search Bob Newhart. We lost Bob Newhart. I kind of hoped he was immortal a little bit. Turns out he's not. Bummer. And there will never be another Bob Newhart. And I'm telling this as a piggyback off of Nichols and May, because he too had absolutely unique comedy bits that are available on YouTube in video and from his comedy albums. And like the sitcom stuff is the stuff he'll be remembered for, but it's only the half of it. And I cannot recommend enough Bob Newhart doing comedy bits.
Then when you're on YouTube looking at Bob Newhart bits, you can find the Cinema St. Louis Golden Anniversaries that they did probably in 2021 was on A New Leaf, and the guest speaker was Carrie Corrigan on it. So pretty cool. Yeah, reviews. Got some reviews up on KDHX that I need to send to Andrew. KMOV and the Take Up. That's the take-up.com. Andrew, do you have one more thing?
I do. In keeping with my practice of getting into things years and years after everybody else was into them, I started playing No Man's Sky last week. I had some time home alone and was feeling an itch to like download a bunch of games that blind, not knowing much about them. No Man's Sky came out about 8 years ago. It's a space-based science fiction survival / exploration game. It was sort of controversial in its release in the sense that it had some really hardcore lovers, but also like had a lot of problems and bugs. And it's one of those games a bit like Cyberpunk 2077 or so forth, where like after a few years of additional development work, it kind of became a great game. So I'm sort of playing it 8 years after it came out, 13 or so patches later, and it's a pretty phenomenal thing. I'm not a huge space guy. I sort of bounce off most space stuff, but something about the vibes of this game are really immaculate. I'm also not a big survival. Like, I don't like most open-ended survival games. I like games with a beginning and an end, but this is sort of scratching an itch for me. It's a visually beautiful game. It looks, I don't know how to describe it. It looks like a cross between like a 1960s sci-fi paperback book cover and the Star Wars prequels were mashed up together into one sort of weird, slightly stylized look. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's just you get in your spaceship and you go around and visit a procedurally generated, theoretically infinite galaxy and universe of planets and moons and star systems and basically do whatever you want. It has exploration. It has, if you like space battles, if you like, shooting pirates with starships, it has a little bit of that. But really, it has like just go into worlds and scanning the procedurally generated creatures and flora and minerals and cataloging them and building little bases for. It's very Minecraft for adults vibe, digging up ore and refining it. It has a lot of that Minecraft sort of DNA in it, but I'm finding it sort of irresistible. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know what
so many adults that play Minecraft. I do.
I don't. I'm not a Minecraft person. My son is, but I am not. So whatever it is, this gives me enough like genre elements that isn't just the sort of highly abstract world of Minecraft. It gives me some like genre elements to sink my teeth into. Here's your spaceship, you upgrade your spaceship. Here's your spacesuit, you upgrade your spacesuit. So I'm really enjoying it. Created by Hello Games. It's a relatively small sort of publisher. I think Sony is, the studio is small. I think Sony is like their publisher / distributor. But apparently it's become a huge success story, and I highly recommend it. I got it for like $20 on the PlayStation Store. So considering how much fun I've had with it, I feel like that's a huge value. You can find me on Letterboxd at AY76 and on the Take Up, where you can find all my film reviews, written film reviews.
And you can find all of us at the Take Up STL. On the next episode. Oh, and for the rest of the series, we're going to have special guests, more contributions from Umi, more costumes to talk about. I don't know what this accent is. It's just coming out. But yeah, till then, thank you to Kayla McCullough for our social media, Jess Pierce for help with editing, theme music by AMP. Wait. I really wanted to say one of the speeches that Anthony Perkins gives.
Speeches.
They're speeches. They're soliloquies. Hold on.
Crazy, sweaty, stinky soliloquies.
Well, here's a good one. It's just the first one on IMDb is "Save your soul, whore. Save your money, shithead." He talks about her having a motorized ass at one point.
Unbelievable. The dialogue in this movie.
If only I had a motorized ass.
Yeah, two. Beep, bitch.
Would it be 2-cycle? Would you pull a ripcord? How would it work exactly?
I got a ripcord you can pull. All right.
We're done.
Bye.